Who am I? Frank Drebin, Police Squad. Bow, bow, ba-na-now, na-now, ba-ba-now, ba-ba-now, ma-now, 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 na-na-now, bow, ba-na-now, na-now. Welcome, everyone, to the Buttery Show, where we do movie reviews and video game news, etc. And today we are discussing the one, the only, one of the greatest comedy trilogies of all time, the Naked Gun franchise. That's right, we're doing all three movies in the month of March, starting today with the first one. And yes, Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad. This movie came out in 1988, starring Leslie Nielsen as the titular character. Well, there's no titular character. What am I even saying? He's the main character. He plays Frank Drebin, Lieutenant Detective Frank Drebin. From Police Squad of the LAPD. It's what a lot of people don't really realize is this movie is actually a spin-off of an unsuccessful TV show called Police Squad. And I actually got a chance to watch a couple of episodes. It was really hard finding all the episodes because, the internet, YouTube, there was never really an official release for this series. But the 6 episodes of Police Squad did focus on the main character, same actor. Only 3 out of all the main characters from the Police Squad TV show actually transitioned to the Naked Gun franchise. So the movie franchise, which are Leslie Nielsen as Frank Drebin, the actor who played Ted from the lab department, and the much taller Al. Yes, that's right. There's a character named Ed and another character named Al. I know, Full Metal Alchemist joke. Yes, there are other characters. There's Ed, who's also the Police Squad, and Officer Norbert. Now, what's interesting about these 2 characters is that Ed and Norbert were the only 2 characters from the TV show not to be played by the same actors as in the movie as they did in the TV show, which is an interesting change. And we'll get into the actors in a bit. So, what is Police Squad exactly? Well, the thing is, Police Squad. Okay, so Police Squad was a TV show in 1982, and it was supposed to spoof cop dramas. And even in the first episode, you had a killer in the cold opening where a woman shoots her husband and who's working with her and another customer to pay off a dental bill, something along those lines, and you can immediately tell where the movies get their comedy from because when they were investigating the crime scene, they try to pull who's on first, what's on second, and because you got twice is this guy, once is this other character. It's like, so you shot once. No, I shot twice. Oh, you shot him. Okay. And yeah, it was okay. The TV show had its funny moments, but I'm going to be honest, the movies were better. The movies were just better. And there was a running gag in the TV show, several running gags in the TV show where one of the recurring characters is Abraham Lincoln, and he only appears in the opening sequence where someone tries to shoot Abe Lincoln and misses, and then he turns around and fires back. That's the only... It's crazy because he's like the only one of the few recurring characters on the show and only appears as like that one shot in the opening theme song. Another recurring gag in the theme song is how the title card would say one name for the episode, but the announcer will say a different phrase for the name of the episode. So there's sort of 2 different names for each episode. Unfortunately, the show did not do very well, so it got canceled after 6 episodes. But then 1988, we got a new movie called The Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad. Obviously, The Naked Gun comes from the actual movie, not from the TV show, since the TV show itself was called Police Squad. And Police Squad in itself got its name from two other shows, the M Squad and what was it called? The Villain Squad, something like that. What's called Felony Squad. That's what it's called. I've never watched either of those two TV shows, but let's get into the Naked Gun series. So the first film came out in 1988. It had a budget of $65 million for the total of all three films. Apparently, doesn't specify it doesn't specify the budget for each individual film, unfortunately. But hold on, actually, you know what? I think if I go right here, yeah, right. It's okay. Here it is. It has a budget of $12 million and had a box office gross of $152.4 million, which is very impressive. Normally you want to make 3 times the amount your budget had, but if you're making more than 10 times your budget, you're doing something right. But yeah, so much like the TV show, the Naked Gun series is a spoof of police drama films as well. But they decided to do some changes when they adapted it to the big screen. Most notably, they wanted to incorporate a long-standing romance element. And that's where we're introduced to, 2 new actors and 1 new character. So obviously, Leslie Nielsen still plays Lieutenant Frank Drebin as the main character. You got Ed Williams as Ted Olson, as well as Tiny Ron as Elle from the lab tech. Those 3 actors still play the same 3 characters. As for Ed and Nordberg, as I mentioned before, the 2 of them were replaced by new actors. So first, Ed Hawken was replaced by the actor George Kennedy, who I honestly haven't seen in a lot of movies other than Bolero featuring Bo Derek. And the less I speak about that movie, the better. Not because the movie itself was bad, but because I just don't want to unload any details about the premise of that movie. But it was a pretty good movie. The point being, that's the only other movie I know the actor from. So there's that. Looking more into George Kennedy's career, he's been in a lot of other works. Like, for example, he was in The Island of Blue Dolphins. He was in The Dirty Dozen, and which, by the way, now that I know that he was in Dirty Dozen, that means there's 2 movies he was in outside of Naked Gun trilogy that I know of. The Dirty Dozen, hilarious film, and probably the best joke from the live-action Cowboy Bebop movie was inspired by Dirty Dozen. It's one of the greatest World War II movies of all time. Definitely check it out. And I do mean like World War, like the actual war, not other parts of World War II, specifically European theater. As far as European theater goes, definitely check out Dirty Dozen. And the movie came out in 1967. He also appeared in Airport, Fool's Parade, Long Horizon, Airport 1975, Airport 77. He was in a lot of the Airport movies, apparently. He was in Virus? Did not know that. And going to more recent films, let's see, he was in The Final Shot, Cats Don't Dance, Don't Come Knocking, The Man Who Came Back, and The Gambler, which was his most recent film in 2014. Now, as for the role of Detective Nordberg, well, this is probably the most controversial cast member in retrospect. So Nordberg is now played by O.J. Simpson. So for a lot of people who think about characters that have been recast by actors of a different race, this is probably one of the earlier examples that I know of. Because the original actor who played Nordberg was a white dude. The new actor is a black dude. Personally, I don't care because I saw the movie first. So honestly, I'm more surprised he was originally a white dude. But yes, Ornithol J. Simpson is none other than Norberg. Now, I will say this: this movie is from 1988, which means that this is before controversy surrounding O.J. Simpson spawned. And he did give a hilarious performance in this film. But I think that's the most I will say about that. Now, let's get into some of the other characters. So, Leslie Nielsen. He plays Lieutenant Frank Drebin, and he's famous for a lot of performances through my childhood, my teen years, adult years, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to lie. When I first saw him, I honestly did mistake him for Steve Martin, which was an oopsie on my part. But he was in a lot of projects, including Mr. Magoo. He played the president in the Scary Movie franchise, starting with the third one onward. And yeah, he even played the counterpart of Uncle Ben in Superhero Movie with Drake Bell and Kevin Hart. So he was in a lot of things. And this wasn't the only parody movie he was part of, even before the Scary Movie franchise. In fact, Leslie Nielsen was also in the Airport franchise. He had a movie called Spy Hard, and many other parody / spoof films. I remember there was one where he went into space. He was a secret agent, and there was this one character who had a sniper crosshair shaped like the president drinking a bottle of water, just so he could do it right when the president's about to drink from a bottle of water. Don't remember the name of that movie. I saw it at my grandma's house one time. I just recognized the actor, so there's that. So he's been in a lot of these movies, and one thing that he has done a lot of is appear in a lot of movies with none other than Weird Al Yankovic. In fact, in the film Spy Hard, Weird Al Yankovic prominently did the theme song to the movie. There's even a lyric where he holds the line so long that Weird Al's face turns blue. It's like, Spy Hard, this movie. I don't even remember how it goes. It's been a while since I've seen that film. And interestingly enough, Weird Al Yankovic does several cameos in the Naked Gun franchise as himself. So let's get right into it, shall we? So what's really interesting about this film is it starts off. Actually, all of these movies start off with a cold opening, but this one in particular starts off with a lot of politicians that were against the United States back in 1988, and Mikhail Gorbachev for some reason, because it was sort of an uneasy alliance. He was frenemies with Reagan. They were working together to disarm all the nuclear arms at the time. So I don't know how much the two can say that Gorbachev is the enemy of the United States, but point is, you have all these African and Middle Eastern and South Asian dictators having this meeting about how we're going to destroy the United States, including terrorizing New York and Washington D.C., which after 24 years ago kind of did not age well. Talking about it probably did not age well, but the point is, all of these dictators could not agree on how they're going to destroy America. But then it turns out the person serving their tea gets upset all of a sudden, because it turns out he was Frank Drebin in disguise the whole time. And there's this epic fight scene with all of these dictators. And there's even a part where he removes the birthmark from Mikhail Gorbachev. He's like, I knew it! And yes, even this dude, turns out he has the orange mohawk. Hilarious. And of course, everyone who And of course, this is how we're introduced to this main character, especially if you've never seen Police Squad before. And it's like, who are you? It's like, Frank Drebin, Police Squad, and don't let me catch you in America ever again. And that cuts to our main theme song, which is the same composition as the TV show, but they did some new stuff instead. Instead of having the police car drive around at different angles and then introducing the individual characters and Abraham Lincoln and a one-off guest star who gets killed in the middle of the theme song, which is another running gag from the theme song. Instead, what they do is they hold this over-the-shoulder shot of the actual police car with the siren and in front of a green screen, and basically it goes through different environments. At first, it seems like the normal Police Squad theme song where like they're going through the streets of LA at night, but then all of a sudden you have like all these other locations like a car wash or inside a person's house or inside a women's changing room, and then inside and then on the tracks of a roller coaster. And by the way, this sequence is going to be a recurring thing through all three movies, and every movie it's a different set of background clips, which is hilarious. But this has become such a zeitgeist that even Family Guy did a parody of this. In the FCC episode of Family Guy, where they got censored by the FCC in real life, Stewie Griffin actually fought against Bin Laden when he was like trying to make a threat to like destroy America on the first night of Ramadan, and then he goes off on Dennis Rodman, and so you got Stewie on his trachea going through all these different locations, including running over the blonde chick from The Sound of Music, and then running over what's his name, Homer Simpson, just like in the opening sequence of The Simpsons. It's like, Peter just walks in, it's like, "Hey, Stewie, who's that guy?" So yeah, the theme song is a gas. It's very nostalgic for me, and it was very iconic for a lot of movies at the time. And so let me talk about how I was first introduced to the franchise. This was back in the age of Blockbuster. That's right. I first saw this movie from a Blockbuster rental. My parents had a membership, and they're like, "Hey, let's watch a comedy for family night." And then out of all the movies we ended up getting was Naked Gun. Honestly, at the time, I was probably more interested in watching the latest Pokemon movie, or Harry Potter 2, I think, was the most recent one at the time, because Chamber of Secrets was the only one I haven't seen in theaters yet. But no, we watched at my friend's house, and I was surprised by how hilarious the film was. And actually, I had to watch the sequels, which I was surprised were called 2.5, The Smell of Fear, and 33 1/3, The Final Insult. And I was confused. Wait, 2.5? Like, are we talking like Spider-Man 2.5, where they added scenes or something? Where's just the second one? And then 33 1/3, I'm like, wait, so there's like 33 Naked Gun movies? Like, are we going to watch all 30? Obviously, it took me a minute to realize, nope, there's just 3. It's just, as a joke, they're adding digits to it that shouldn't be there. Needless to say, if there was a 4th one, it would have been called 444 1/4. And if there was a 5th one, 5,555 1/5. But, so how I got my hands on this DVD is also a funny story, because even though I grew up in South Central, I've never been to Walmart before until 2008. Don't know how this happened. Don't question it. But first visit at a Walmart, I begged my parents to take me to a Walmart because I was in a Bionicle collecting phase, and yeah, there was a point where certain Bionicles are only Toys R Us exclusive or Target exclusive or Walmart exclusive, and I wanted to the Walmart exclusive ones. I couldn't. There weren't any Walmarts anywhere except for the one in Crenshaw. So I went there. Well, unfortunately, they didn't have the Bionicles I wanted. that really sucked. I was super disappointed. But while I was walking away in disappointment, I happened to notice this very box set, and by box I mean literally just the one regular DVD size box. All 3 movies for $12.99 plus tax. So I'm like, Dad, I want that. And I've had this DVD ever since. Yep, that's right. I've had this for 16 years. Can you believe that? I've had this DVD for 16 years. And I still love it. And it probably still works. And yeah, it's just your typical, 3-part movie kit. I'm glad they didn't do a 4-part where they just randomly insert a 4th movie. To give you an idea, there's a Rush Hour 4-pack where you got the 3 Rush Hour films plus a random Chris Tucker movie. I think it was Map Money. See, sometimes it makes sense when you do a movie 4-pack, like when you do Ocean's 11, you have the Ocean's 11 trilogy with George Clooney. And then you got the original Ocean's 11 with Frank Sinatra. Okay, that completes the set. Ninja Turtles, you got the 3 90s Ninja Turtle movies, plus the 2006 CGI one, because those were the only 4 movies that existed at the time. I mean, Superman, pretty straightforward. There were 4 movies. Batman, straightforward. There were only 4 movies. Dark Knight, thankfully, I got that as a 3-pack. Harry Potter, 2 4-packs, and I got them both for half price. So I got all 8 Harry Potter films for $10. But the point is, I'm just really happy that I got this as a 3-pack because I did not want to have to spend $30 on the 3 movies individually. And I just really love the movies. So this was my opportunity to watch them back to back over and over and over and over and over. So naturally, that's my history with Naked Gun franchise. And I've been a Leslie Nielsen fan ever since. When he passed away, back in 2009, 2010, I was really upset because I really love the actor. But let's get to some of the other characters that we see. So, one of the recurring gags from Police Squad is the overly dramatic, overly extended death scene. You know how, in a typical movie, when a character gets killed, they fumble around a little bit before they die? Well, here, it took Nordberg a little bit longer to take in the blow. I will say this. I know that there is a Turkish film, I think it was, where you have an overtly slow film where it's like... But no, it's just they just shot him a bunch of times, just the one time, really quickly, and he's just moving around all over the place, like he puts his hand on a hot plate, he smashes his head against a wall, and then he dunks his head into a cake, steps on a bear trap, and falls into the water. Somehow, every bullet missed a vital organ, so he's still alive, just in time for Frank to be able to figure out what's going on. So there's 2 things going on, but one of them has less prevalence than the other. So the reason Nordberg was shot was because the villain, Vincent Ludwig, who's played by the fabulous Ricardo Montalban, he is posing as an entrepreneur and a philanthropist, which is the perfect cover for a criminal mastermind. Yes, he's smuggling drugs into LA, but that's not his main crime. In this movie, he was commissioned by Pep Schmear, who is a recurring villain throughout all 3 films, though gets very little screen time, to assassinate Queen Elizabeth II. Now, I just want to let you guys know, Queen Elizabeth II was not played by Elizabeth II. It was a different actress, so no, she did not play herself. Well, I have to say, The actress was pretty convincing. So there's an interesting plot pertaining to this. So the way it works is, there's this fantastic conversation between Pepschmier and Ludwig, where he says, "In all of the world, what is the most effective assassin?" And of course, Pepschmier says, "Well, anyone could be an assassin if they could conceal their identity as an assassin." And of course, he retorts, "What if I told you there was a more effective kind of assassin? One that doesn't know that they are an assassin." And of course, we get this hilarious scene. It's like, "I must kill Pepschmier. I must kill Pepschmier." And the delivery was just so perfect. The comedy, I could go into the plot, but comedy was just so perfect. It was so well timed. Every joke hit perfectly. Even the one Weird Al Yankovic cameo was well done. And of course, like everywhere Frank goes, trouble ensues. He even gets in trouble with the mayor, and apparently Frank killed 5 Shakespeare actors because they were doing a rendition of Julius Caesar. And he's like, "When I see 5 weirdos in togas stabbing another person, I am that's when I start blasting." That was a Shakespeare in a Park rendition of Julius Caesar. You killed 5 actors, good ones. And of course, we're introduced to a love interest played by Priscilla Presley. Yes, Priscilla Presley, the wife of Elvis Presley in real life. She plays Jane. Hilarious actress. Even when she's first introduced, they're trying to create this impression that she's the sultry vixen, like they do in spy movies, and all of a sudden, face plant. That's just so well done. And of course, finding out that that Norbert isn't dead, Ludwig has to do some dirty deeds and do them dirt cheap. So there was even one of my most favorite scenes in the film was when you got this car chase scene where he chases after a brainwashed doctor who tried to assassinate Norbert. And of all the cars for Frank to commandeer, it happens to be a teen driver. And she is driving, well, she slams the brakes a little too often at first. And this is where we get one of my most favorite sequences. It's like, "Don't worry, Stephanie, normally would not be going 60 miles per hour down the wrong way of a one-way street. Now hit the brakes. Put it in reverse." And then a truck driver insults her, and he says, "Okay, Stephanie, stay calm. Extend your arm. Extend your middle finger. Well done, Stephanie. Well done." All of a sudden, she just bolted, and it is hilarious. And that's where we get the famous scene with the fireworks. It's like, "Nothing to see here. Move along. Nothing to see here." Just perfect comedy. And of course, we get a romance sequence, then a date montage. A lot of it is really great. And of course, we're added an extra bit of pressure that turns out because they found the heroin on Nordberg's jacket, he has 24 hours to prove that Nordberg is clear of drugs, which is kind of interesting because it really seems like they went past 24-hour mark, and yet somehow that is even the thing. But let's talk about the villain for a second. Ricardo Montalban. I would have to say he's most famous for playing 2 very specific roles. One, he played the legendary Khan in the Star Trek franchise. He first appeared in The Seed of Evil, and then reappeared as the main villain in the second Star Trek movie, Wrath of Khan, where he delivered the famous line, "I will leave you as you have left me, as you have left my wife, marooned in the center of a dying planet." Bang. Come on! The other is Fantasy Island, where all of your dreams come true. And of course, he's got the little person tattoo along with him. don't remember the actor playing. Don't remember the name of the actor who played Tattoo. There was a recent horror film remake of Fantasy Island with Michael Pena. I never watched it, but I have seen a few episodes of Fantasy Island. I love Ricardo Montalban in it. Fantastic performance. Maybe one of these days, if I had a friend who was a little person, maybe the two of us could do. Nah. Like, if it ever happens and happens naturalistically, okay, that's fine. But I'm not gonna go out of my way to make that happen. Don't worry, guys. We're all PC here. But I do love his performance, though. Welcome to Fantasy Island, where all of your dreams come true, but not quite how you dreamed them to be. Yeah, and of course, there was even a Looney Tunes parody of Fantasy Island called Daffy Duck in the Quacktastic Island or something like that. It was just another one of those Looney Tunes movies where you have a general premise and then you just have little snippets of various Looney Tunes shorts. In this case, there was like a well that if you possess the map, you can make any wish happen. So Daffy Duck and Speedy Gonzales turned it into a resort where people would pay money to have their wish granted. And by wish granted, I mean they would just see a vision of it being granted in the well. And of course, you got. I think one of the clips used was Michigan Frog. Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. And of course, something bad happens. So you only get 3 wishes. It's like, oh, I wish for a burrito. Yeah, well, I wish that burrito was on your nose. And then the bad guys wish for themselves off the island, with leaving the 2 stranded. So there's that. Now, a more recent performance Ricardo Montalban was in was the Spy Kids franchise, where he played Junie and Carmen's grandfather. That's pretty much all I have to say about that performance. He, like any other performance he gave, he did a great job. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the Spy Kids movies, except for the first one, but he gave a really good performance with what he was given. Unfortunately, much like Leslie Nielsen, Ricardo Montalban did pass away. And if I'm not mistaken, he died a year before Leslie Nielsen did, which is kind of crazy, all things considered. And even in this movie, he gave a fantastic performance. You know, it's like yes, this is a rare Japanese samurai pan. I got it from Emperor Hirohito, completely impervious to anything except for water. And of course, Drebin just drops it into a fish tank and accidentally kills a Japanese fighting fish, which is also insurmountably expensive. But yeah, turns out Ludwig had a lot of people in his pocket, and so much so that when we get to the final sequence in the final scene in the movie, also Frank Drebin makes a fool of himself, humiliating himself with the queen. He loses. He's taken off the case, but turns out he was right. Turns out he was right about Ludwig. No one ever listens to him. So when the Queen was supposed to be eliminated during the 7th inning stretch of an Los Angeles Angels game, yes, once upon a time the Los Angeles baseball team was the Angels, not the Dodgers. Frank had to use a series of disguises to get in. First, he disguised himself as an opera singer supposed to sing the national anthem, Enrico Palazzo, and there's a reason I always remember that name. Of course, he doesn't remember the lyrics, which is very typical of people in my generation. So it's like, and the rocket's red glare, da 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 da. And then he switches into an umpire costume, and this scene speaks for itself, and this is where we get to what's probably Ryan's most favorite song, I Love LA by Randy Newman. There's a whole montage where he pats down every single baseball player on both teams as conspicuously as possible. And the thing is, And the crazy part is the mayor figured out that the umpire is Frank. Ed and Al, that's right, Ed and Al, figured out that it's Frank, and also freaking. But for some reason, Ludwig did not figure out that it's Frank. Like he was acting all suspicious, like that Empire is not behaving very, is acting very peculiar. But and what's crazy is they could not figure out who the assassin is. And we're getting really close to seventh inning stretch. So we got this thing where you got a player trapped between two Angels players. And then you got to fight between all these umpires. And then everyone starts fighting each other. I mean, everyone, even people in the audience. Like you got a rabbi and a mom fighting, a dog and a mailman fighting. Like all these people just fighting it out. And turns out one of the Angels players was brainwashed by the hypnotic frequency in order to assassinate the queen by using a gun hidden underneath one of the bases, which I'm thinking, why didn't Frank figure that one out? I mean, not the fact that the player was brainwashed, but the fact that the gun was hidden underneath one of the bases. But thankfully, because of a device given to him by Ted earlier in the movie, he did manage to stop the assassin, in a sense. Not the way you would expect it to, but then unfortunately Ludwig was unceremoniously killed in a way that would, let's just say, is reminiscent of Lion King. I'm just gonna leave it at that. It's very reminiscent of Lion King. But here's the problem. It causes Jane to become hypnotized. And she must kill Frank Drebin. And of course, Frank makes this epic speech, and everyone puts the camera on him so everyone could see him make the speech. He's like, I know I don't make a lot of money on a policeman's salary, but I want to get married to you. If you want to kill me, you may as well pull that trigger because I cannot live a life without you. You know, that really sappy thing that gets the rabbi and the imam to hug it out, the dog and the male person to kiss it out. Everyone's starting to get along. All of the baseball players on rival teams, including Yamchuk, who's not even in this movie, all start hugging it out. And of course, all's well that ends well. Norberg makes a recovery. He's returned to the force. Frank is also returned to the force. And Frank accidentally knocks Norberg over, but don't worry, he survives. And that's the end of the movie. I know I didn't go into a lot of details. I know I kind of withheld a lot of the jokes and scenes, but the thing is, they're just so well done that I just don't want to spoil them. If you haven't seen the movie yet, and keep in mind, this movie came out in 1988, which is 36 years ago, you definitely need to see it if you haven't seen it already. It's, as of the time of this recording, it is available on the Max app. So if you have Max, definitely check it out. Or, you could always find the DVD somewhere in whatever video store might still be lingering in the age of streaming. Or maybe you could find it on Amazon. Actually, I'm curious. I'm going to check Amazon right now to see if the movie is available on their website, whether directly or through a third party, and how much it costs on there. Let's see. Okay, you could rent on Prime Video for $4. Okay, but let's see if it's available on DVD, like actual DVD. I know it could be available on Blu-ray. Oh, okay. So Naked Gun Trilogy Collection is available for $12 on Amazon Prime one-day delivery. And for $30, you could get that with the show Police Squad, also on DVD. Honestly, if I could find Police Squad by itself, I would probably get that just to go with my existing trilogy collection. So the price did not change much. There's no inflation or deflation in the price. So yeah, definitely watch the trilogy. The sequels are also fantastic, but you got to start somewhere. And I have to say, even if you've never seen Police Squad before, it's not going to stop you from enjoying the Naked Gun, because let's keep in mind, I came in never having known that Police Squad was even a show until years after I've seen all three movies, and I didn't even see an episode of Police Squad until like COVID. So you best believe, like, you don't need to see Police Squad to enjoy Naked Gun, but I think you could still like watch it if you want to. It's got a lot of similar humor, but as far as the original Naked Gun goes, it's a fantastic comedy. Well, you can watch it with, I'd say, PG-13. Oh, look at that, PG-13. Because there is a little bit of humor that I would not recommend to a child. But I think if your kids are already teenagers, like ages 12 and up, I think they could still appreciate some of the humor, even the non-raunchy jokes that are there. And yeah, I mean, I would say, yeah, I would say the one joke that you kind of need context for would probably be the opening scene where he fights all of those dictators, because if you don't really know the dictators from the Cold War, you probably be mostly confused with some of the jokes. They give enough lines to tell you, oh yeah, they're dictators who hate America. Like, that's enough context that you need. But a specific joke like the birthmark, you kind of need to know that, yeah, Mikhail Gorbachev did have a birthmark. And yeah, it would also help to know that, hey, Gorbachev was in talks with Reagan to disarm both sides' nuclear arms to bring the Cold War to an end. So, like, if you don't really know that, you probably won't understand why he's saying, and spoil the 3 years of good relations, some people like me more than their own president, which honestly is funny, knowing that a lot of people in America hated Reagan. So, yeah, but outside that one joke, I think a lot of people would still appreciate it. Plus, you got a fight scene out of it, so maybe you don't need to know the historical context of the opening sequence. So, yeah, I highly recommend The Naked Gun. I give the movie a 9 out of 10. Definitely not a 10 out of 10, because, it's very close to being a 10 out of 10, but you know, it's just fun, but not like, oh, this is the greatest film of all time, like The Holes or Spider-Man or Empire Strikes Back, or Speed or The Mask, But it's definitely a dead ringer for being in the top 10. Sorry, being in the 10 out of 10 position. So, but yeah, no. So I would give it a 9.9 out of 10 because it's just that good, hilarious, and rewatchable. The sequels, I would probably say they're not as close to the 10 as the original was, but definitely rewatchable over and over again. After all, I've seen this one so many times. So there's a reason why I don't want to give away too much about the humor, because I want you guys to enjoy it for yourselves. But yeah, the ensemble were fantastic. There was a lot of chemistry between Nielsen and Presley. The camaraderie between Nielsen and the other two leads were also great. Montalban was a fantastic villain. It almost makes me sad that he's only there just for that first movie, because he always plays a fantastic villain. Pep Schmear, we'll see more of him. Still not much of him like there was in the first film. But yeah, he's the recurring villain through all three movies. Sometimes I wonder if Frank even knows that Pep Schmear even exists. But it's okay. Still a fun film. Definitely check it out. There are no comments tonight. That's totally okay. But we hope you guys enjoyed watching this discussion of the Naked Gun franchise, or at least the first movie. We'll be doing Naked Gun 2.5, The Smell of Fear, next Saturday. So be sure to check that out. And then we're going to do 33 1/3 the following Saturday on the 30th. Yeah, this March is the 30th anniversary of 33 1/3, so we're celebrating that by going through all 3 Naked Gun movies. We hope you guys have enjoyed this, so please be sure to comment, like, and subscribe to us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and ding the bell icon to stay notified for our latest videos. Also, please share to help us out with the algorithms. We've also done other movies in the past. We've done the Crow franchise. We've done anime movies based on anime, movies based on video games. We've done the 90s Batman movies. We've done the Kenobi TV series. We've done a lot of content. We're hoping to give you guys even more content beyond that. Also, please be sure to check out our sister channel, the Morphin Network, where we discuss all things tokusatsu. We do Ultraman on Mondays, Kamen Rider on Wednesdays, Super Sentai on Thursdays, and we're doing even more Kamen Rider on Sundays. So this Sunday, is the time of this recording, we'll be doing episodes 9 through 12 of Kamen Rider Kiva. And with all that, and if you want to check out my personal content, you could find me on Instagram at Boken_Kabuto and on Twitch at twitch.tv/BokenKabuto. With all that said, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to stay safe, stay hydrated, update your emergency kits, hug your loved ones. And because we know it's St. Patrick's Day this Sunday, make sure you celebrate that responsibly. So we'll see you guys tomorrow, and we'll have a great time. Bye, guys.